What's up, nerds? It's the best spelling. Blah. What's up, nerds? It is the best spelling cosplayer, Spidey Spice here, and we're here to bring you another nerd talk. Today's topic is Star Wars Episode 1, and why the hell are y'all some haters on this joint? Okay, so recently I've gone back, rewatched Star Wars Episode 1, and I wrote down some likes and dislikes. As you can see, it's a pretty long list. Likes, dislikes. I happen to be a fan of Star Wars Episode 1. A lot of you don't seem to be the same way because of Jar Jar Binks or what have you. So I'm about to shed some light on the awesomeness that is Star Wars Episode 1. Starting with my dislikes. So I'm not all biased on this jump for real. Because y'all gonna be like, oh, well, he likes Star Wars Episode 1. He's not gonna be, talking about all the bad things. Ha! Joke's on you, mother. I can't say that because I'm gonna monetize this video. But I will be impartial. So I wrote down likes and dislikes. So we're gonna start with the dislikes. So without me jaw-jacking anymore, I'm gonna start getting into my dislikes. Starting with number one. The number one issue with Star Wars Episode 1 is the way the script is written. Because, let's be honest, it's not the most immaculate script or anything. It's not like it's a New Hope or anything. It's not bringing anything brand new. It's a regular run-of-the-mill. The government is corrupt. We need help. Oh, we're not going to help you because you guys are a poor state, and I'm trying to do something to make me grow in power. Oh, who's going to help us? Jedi, help us. Well, Jedi is like a whole nother thing that's not related, but you get the idea. So, it's a regular run-of-the-mill corrupt government story. Only difference is it has space powers in it. And the real flaw in this are the side characters. The way the side characters deliver their dialogue is like this. If I did this whole video like this, in this tone, and showed no expression, this is how all the side characters delivered their lines. No expression, no inflection of the voice. Just like this. And don't nobody want that up in their video. Don't nobody. You would have turned this shit off if I was like, this is the video. This is what I'm talking about in this video. Hello. Anyway, back to the dislikes. So, the dialogue delivery and the script were the biggest issue I could find with this film. Other than that, I wrote down Anakin's mom 3 times because every time she delivered a line, it was supposed to be emotional. It's supposed to be powerful. Come on, you're about to let your son go out into the world with this stranger spaceman with space powers, and you don't know if you ever gonna see the boy again. I'd expect at least a little Denzel tear, a little thug cry, a little. Nothing. That moment when Anakin left Tatooine was supposed to be emotional. We were supposed to be grabbing our tissues and be like, he's about to leave and join the Jedi Order. But none of that happened. So, I wrote her name down 3 times because she's the highest offender. So, that is number 1 and the biggest issue I could find. Most of these dislikes are kind of nitpicky because I was actually looking for bad things. And overall, all the main characters' performances were pretty good. Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, Jake, I think that's his name. The kid who played Anakin, he did a pretty dope job. I'm about to fact check that after this video because I'm running blanks right now. But Natalie Portman, even though she was kind of she was on the fence for me. Sometimes she was good and sometimes she was bad. But most of the time it was okay. But that's my number 1. Issue number 2. Y'all didn't see that. It's 2. Alright, so issue number 2 would be the blending of CGI and lighting and mocap. Now I do understand the year was 1999 and it was the first time mocap was being used in this capacity and this large with the Gungans and Jar Jar Binks. And that we're gonna get to Jar Jar a little bit later on, but it was groundbreaking technology, just like Star Wars does in Lucasfilms. They're always bringing new technology into the Hollywood, realm of stuff. My brain's not working, so I'm gonna use the word stuff. because we're gonna dumb this down a little bit. And it was really groundbreaking what they did with that mocap. However, the lighting with the CGI mixed with live action characters did not blend very well. You have, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, who clearly stand out in the Gungan city. Then you have the Gungans that clearly stand out when they're in Naboo. And then certain scenes in the film just look like they weren't fully rendered. Like, when you're playing a video game and you go into that spot that you shouldn't be into and it's still loading and everything looks pixelated and the grass and everything, the film suffers from that a lot. So that was kind of like a nitpick thing, but also like something that kind of takes you out of that fantasy realm, you know what I mean? So that was my number 2. My number 3 would be the Gungan's dialect. It's probably like the most annoying speech pattern anybody could listen to. Like, can you imagine being in school and the kid behind you that chews on paper and like sleeps and got boogers coming out of his nose, and the teacher calls on him and she's like, can you answer the question to number 7? And he's just like, Miss, I don't know. Miss, I don't know nothing. Like, no one wants to hear that. You just look at it like, why does she call on him? You know he can't read. Stop. That's literally what the Gungan's dialect is. Like, every time they speak, you just feel like you want to blow your brains out, because there's no way anybody could be this dumb and not understand regular English. But on the other hand of the Gungan's dialect, it was interesting to see them bring in a new alien speech that wasn't any like random gibberish, like and then like have little subtitles at the bottom that we gotta read, and then it like has nothing to do with the actual plot of the story. But like, it was like cool to have like some broken English and not have it be like ebonics up or like stereotypical like slang that another ethnic race would use. So I do applaud them for doing that. However, it was rough. It was rough. And I'm glad that the Gungans weren't in many scenes, because if they were like all throughout the film talking, I don't think most of us would have made it. Number 4. Sound like a little radio guy right now. But coming in at number 4 is going to be the fight that takes place on Tatooine. Why is that a dislike? I'll tell you why it's a dislike. Because it didn't show much of a fight. Like, we see Darth Maul pull up, about to run over young Anakin. First and foremost, I want to like put this out there. Darth Maul was never on Tatooine to collect Anakin. He was there to kill motherfuckers. Kill people. He was there to kill people. And the people he was there to kill was Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn. Because Darth Sidious sent there to off them motherfuckers. But yeah, Anakin was never the source of Darth Maul going to Tatooine. Anyway, back to number 4. That fight was very short-lived. And it should have been more focused on, because there's sand going everywhere. They're focusing on Obi-Wan and the ship and little Annie in the ship, which it kind of is like this disconnect there, because you see Qui-Gon getting on the ship as it's pulling off, and he's gasping for breath like an old man. I mean, he is an old man, but like, he was like help me. And like, you don't really see what the big cause was, because like you basically just see him defending himself, and he's like holding his own for real. So like, I feel like we should have saw more of that fight to warrant Qui-Gon really being that out of breath and like, that shook, So that's my biggest gripe. Oh, also, since we're on the subject of Tatooine, this isn't a number or anything. This is just like a personal gripe that I had with it, like a little nitpick. Children don't say yippee. They said yippee about like 4 or 5 times during that little pod race, and I'm like, don't no kids say yippee. They say woohoo. They say yeah, woohoo, you go. I don't think anyone has ever said yippee ever in the history of ever in real life. I think that's just like some movie like onomatopoeia shit. So yeah. Finally, the last dislike coming at number 5 is going to be the casting for Anakin and Padme. And the reason why I say the casting for them is the kid who did Anakin, phenomenal. Natalie Portman who did Padme, okay. But my biggest issue is that, you know, those of us who actually watched the original trilogy, I was like, it's 2020, come on, like, who hasn't seen the original trilogy by now? If you haven't, you're living under a rock and you need to face your life. But those of us who've seen the original trilogy know that Anakin and Padme end up together. So that we have a grown Natalie Portman and a kid who's clearly like around the age Anakin's supposed to be, things feel weird. Especially when like there's this kind of like moment when they're like kind of flirting but not really flirting, but building that relationship up, and you're just like, that's a child, woman. But you have to keep in mind that this 20-year-old woman is playing a 14-year-old girl, and it's like, that's not a 14-year-old girl, that's a whole woman. And like it just made those scenes really, really weird and awkward, you know. So I wish that they would have like casted a younger woman or a younger girl to play Queen Amidala or Padme, someone around the ballpark of, you know, 12 and 15, to give like at least that cosmetic look. That way we're not looking at Natalie Portman like she's a pedophile. Which I'm pretty certain she's not a pedophile, but like for Star Wars Episode 1, like that was the vibe a lot of us were getting. It was just very weird and very, very cringy at times. So that was my number 5. So now we got the dislikes out the way. Now it's time for the likes. So since these are the likes and the good things, I'm gonna go in reverse. So I'm coming at you with number 5. And I actually picked a lot more than this stuff. Like you can see the whole list right here. So like I had to very narrow it down, and I'm kind of doing it off the top of my head, going through this video and seeing what's a nitpick and what's not. But number 5, I'm gonna talk about this one very, very briefly, is my man's Darth Maul. Darth Maul is my number 5 pick. He's in the movie very, very briefly, but he makes a large impact and kind of sets off everything that happens within this Star Wars story in Episode 1. Like the way he pulled up on Tatooine, he was on site. He played no games. He was like, oh, my mission is to kill some Jedi. I've been waiting. Do you know how long I've been waiting to murk some people? Bro, he sent me off that chain. I was like, ah. Yeah, Darth Maul, like hands down, has to be number 5. Now, coming in at number 4. Why did I do 4 for this one and like 4 like that? I don't know why I did it that way. Anyway, coming in number 4 is we have different types of Jedi being introduced. So this is another huge thing for the prequels, because the original trilogy, you didn't have types of Jedi. You had, you know, the light side and you had the dark side. You know, the light being represented by Ben Kenobi and Luke Skywalker, and then you have the dark side being represented by Darth Sidious and Darth Vader, and like that was it. But going back into it, you're seeing, you know, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mace Windu, Yoda. Granted, you don't get to see everybody wielding a lightsaber, but you start seeing the differences in how Jedi move and how they interact with the world around them. Like Qui-Gon Jinn, he is what they call a counselor. A Jedi counselor is someone who's like high affinity with the Force. They believe that any problem can be solved without violence, and they can use their Force abilities and like just get through whatever they need to get through. Where Obi-Wan, on the other hand, is a guardian. He's the person that you send out when you need hands on site and need stuff to get done. And both of those types of Jedi are represented by the type of lightsaber that they hold with their colors. You see Qui-Gon having a green lightsaber, Obi-Wan with the blue lightsaber. So I thought that was really tight with the introduction of types of Jedi when it came to that. Also, since I'm on the subject of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, I also got to throw out how I love their relationship in it, because what a lot of people don't know is during the course of this film that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's general relationship was kind of shaky, like Obi-Wan was having doubts in Qui-Gon, thinking that Qui-Gon didn't want him as a Padawan anymore, and Qui-Gon is just, chilling, like, hey, I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me, What's up, Obi-Wan? How you feeling? Obi-Wan's like, I'm good. How you doing? Like, being a hater and whatnot. And you see that within the part where Qui-Gon's trying to get Anakin trained by the Jedi Council. And they're like, yeah, no, you already got a Padawan. And Qui-Gon's like, well, he's ready. And Obi-Wan's like, yeah, I am ready. Let me be a knight. And they still deny him. And then Obi-Wan kind of like, spazzes out on Qui-Gon a little bit later. Like, you just want to train somebody else. You don't want to get your Padawan anymore. And then, like, they apologize, little boy. But, like, I like how they, touched on that a little bit. I wish they would have got on it a little bit more throughout the film, because you don't really get to see too much of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan throughout Star Wars Episode 1. And I wish there was a little bit more with him, because his banter as Obi-Wan was, like, amazing. Like, his sarcasm, c'est magnifique. But I just want to throw that out there. Okay, so number 3 was a little hard to come up with, because I got like so many in my life, so I'm gonna like compound them together because I feel like they go hand in hand, and that's the music and the costuming. The music and the costuming were phenomenal all throughout the film. Everything kind of flowed, nothing felt really stiff, and if it was supposed to feel stiff, that's what they conveyed throughout the film. I want to also like shout out, Padme's outfits, or not even Padme, but like Queen Amidala, because anytime Queen Amidala was on screen, like she was fly. Like she was fly straight up, like dressed to the nines, head to toe. You couldn't tell her nothing. And then, the music that accompanied everything. Of course, you have the amazing, Duel of Fates, and the song that caused a lot of controversy when this film came out was Qui-Gon's Tragic End, because like the soundtrack came out before the movie, and literally the song's called Qui-Gon's Tragic End, so you already know Qui-Gon's gonna die. So other than that, like it was great from beginning to end. I loved it. You loved it. You can't hate on the music because everyone loves it. So that's my number 3. All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, guys, and I gotta tell you, my number 2 pick for the likes is the Jedi Council. So in Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, we get our first look at the Jedi Council, and you kind of see like the imagery of the buildup of everything. So the Jedi Council is probably in one of the highest, tallest buildings in Coruscant, and the Jedi Council area where they convene and have meetings is at the top of the spire. So what is that? That's a power move. So basically it's showing you that, the Jedi Council has become this power entity. Like they're supposed to be peacekeepers of the galaxy, and instead of being peacekeepers, they kind of became enforcers for the Senate, because they don't make a move unless the council says something or they get approval from the Senate. And that's where issues come in line with the Jedi Council. And I'm gonna get to that probably in like another video. I'm not gonna focus too much on that one because I could be here all night or all day talking about it, and this video will be like an hour long. Nobody wants that video to be an hour long, or do you? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, so the Jedi Council, you see, Yoda's the headmaster. You got Mace Windu beside him, and the weird, wrinkly old dude next to him with the white beard. I don't know his name. He just looks weird to me, but he was really judgmental of Anakin and like a lot of things. But that's neither here nor there. You see how they make decisions and everything, and how they like set everything up. Like everything is so beautiful. Like if you go in and watch it through the eyes of like how things are set up for things to happen, it's a great film. Like I'm not saying like it's a I'm gonna save that for my summary. But anyway, like you see the Jedi Council doing their thing. And finally, Finally, it happened to me. I am at number one of my picks. So, coming at you at number one is the Force. Wow, right? How can I pick the Force? This is why I picked the Force, because this film introduced you to new Force abilities and shows you how the Force moves without the galaxy, whether it was intentional or unintentional. So, at the very beginning of the film, we see Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on a Trade Federation ship, and it turns out that, they're betraying the Jedi and everything. So, what do we see them do? Number one, we see a Force Dash, or a Force Sprint, however you want to call it, Force Dash or Force Sprint. That's a new power. That's something we haven't seen before. Another thing that they show us is the Force Jump. How, Obi-Wan was able to go from one level, jump a complete story, all the way back to where Qui-Gon was fighting Darth Maul near the end of the film. That's like another power. Then you have the blast doors that closed on them once again at the beginning, where Qui-Gon is using the Force to expand his lightsaber being outward to melt the blast door down when the cutting wouldn't work anymore. So those were genius ways to show how the Force works and everything. I will also add this bit of it to the nitpicking side of the midichlorians, because this is something that the Star Wars mythos suffers from tremendously, is consistency in what the Force is. So in the original trilogy, the Force is kind of like this religion. And the prequel trilogy, the Force is kind of treated like power levels, like it's Dragon Ball Z, like, oh snap, he's powering up. His midichlorian count is too high. Oh no, I can't take it. And then, the sequel trilogy, Anyway, in the sequel trilogy, you have the Force being treated as sensitivity, to where it's not you either have it or you don't anymore. It's everyone is on a spectrum of Force sensitivity now. So you get that interesting sense to where, like, okay, well, you're with the Force, and what's cool about the sequel trilogy is that in Star Wars Episode 1, it enforces that with how the Force flows throughout. And I'm going to use Jar Jar Binks as a prime example of that, because he's probably one of the most important characters of this film. And not because he drives the story along anywhere, but he drives the point home about the Force. So the meeting with, starting from the meeting with Qui-Gon Jinn, Jar Jar was exiled from the Gungan city. He meets Qui-Gon. He becomes, kind of like a slave or a partner to Qui-Gon Jinn, because Qui-Gon ends up saving his life, and then go back to Gungan City. Qui-Gon's like, hey, well, I saved his life. He comes with me now, and the Gungans respected that. Obi-Wan, he didn't have to use the Jedi mind trick or anything. He just all right, cool. Take Jar Jar Binks, and we never have to see him again. All right, bet. Keep moving throughout the film. Jar Jar keeps getting into messed up situation after messed up situation, but once again, the Force is intervening, because the Force is like, nah, you don't die yet. There's more for you. So that happened. Then we see him build the relationship up with Queen Amidala, therefore bringing the Gungans and the people of Naboo together, so that at the end of the film that they have an army. With that being said, now Jar Jar is being promoted to general with his people. He goes out on the battlefield. On the battlefield, Jar Jar was pretty much supposed to die. There's no way anybody can be that lucky. There's no amount of dumb luck that's going to keep you alive in a battle like that, especially when people's bodies dropping left and right. You mean to tell me you got a droid stuck to your foot, and he's trying to get the droid off his foot, but he's also blasting other droids? He fumbles the bomb. The bomb accidentally fumbles out of his hand and goes into the tank it was supposed to go to anyway, and disables it. That has to be the Force. You can't tell me anything other than that. There's no amount of dumb luck that can convince me, especially when a universe where luck isn't really a factor. It's more about how the energies of the universe want you to be. So that was my number one pick, is how the Force moves throughout. So overall, given the likes mixed with dislikes, I say I think the likes, you know, outweigh the dislikes for real, you know. It's a great film, got great music, great characters. Yeah, the side characters were stale giving their dialogue, but if you take away the side characters giving their dialogue, you got a pretty great film over here. It's not the most groundbreaking thing ever. Like, it's not like a twist we didn't see coming through, because if you've ever seen Star Wars, you know at the root it's a family movie, you know. So, and not saying like it's a family movie where you can like sit down with the family and watch it. Like, yeah, you can sit down with the family and watch it, but no, it's about the Skywalker family. And it did a really great job telling the origins of Anakin Skywalker, and you know, setting up everything that was going to transpire for the second film, the third film, then going into the prequels, and then, you know, I can't really talk about the sequel trilogy because that was pretty bad. But hey, those are my reasons why Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace is way better than what people give it credit for. I can keep going on and on why it's one of the greatest films in Star Wars history. But you guys let me know what you think about Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace in the comments below. If you like this video, stay tuned for more videos like this. I will be doing another video about the prequels. It's going to be about Episode 2, Episode 3, and, you know, the tragic history of Anakin Skywalker, because I don't think a lot of people know how tragic the story of Anakin really is outside of the films. Because like the films do what they can, but there's more that takes place in between, and I'm gonna touch a little bit on that, you know. So if you like, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell so you get notifications when I drop videos, which I don't know how long it's gonna be. I'm getting started. This is my inaugural video, so yeah, holla at your boy. Spidey Spice out.